everyone, my name is Elena and welcome to the Pumpkin Pages. So I know it's been a minute. It's been probably at least a month since I last uploaded my last video. It is around the end of July and I had so many things planned to do for this summer, mostly like spooky summer weed kind of thing.
I'm done.
Unfortunately, life happened. My family came and visited from Texas for 2 weeks. There was a lot of cleaning up to do and just running around and doing the adult things. Jameson says hi with his with his blue mouth. He just had a ring pop, so I promise he's not contagious or anything. Still planning to upload the second part to Lord of the Rings. I just still need to finish the Return of the King. And so I haven't even finished reading An Orc on the Wild Side. I only DNF'd it right now just because I just got super busy with everything and I just wasn't in the mood to read it anymore. And like a lot of the plans I had this summer, I was going to do like a theme for every week. I was going to do like Camp Slaughter one week, and then I was going to do creepy beach reads one week. And it's just, you know, time got ahead of me. I got overwhelmed. So my chaotic energy, you know, I can't keep up with it. So here we are. I'm here doing a mid-year freakout video. And I'm just going to answer a couple of the common questions that are asked and just wanted to share what I've read so far. So I have read a total of 45 books this year so far, and that's like books that I've actually finished. And my goal for this year, I believe, was either 75 or 100. So I could probably catch up with it. It's just, we'll see how that goes. I definitely did not read a whole lot of, my poorest month was probably July just because of all the hectic things that were happening. What were my top favorite books this year? So I'm going to name my top 3 and then honorable mentions. So the top 3 would be, one is A Castle in the Clouds by Kirsten Geyer. And I love this book because when I read it, it was just so atmospheric. I loved every second of it. It had a little bit of everything. It had comedy, a little bit of romance, which I tend to not go for, but I loved it in this book. And it was around Christmas time. It was very atmospheric, and there was a mystery going on. And yeah, it was just so enjoyable, and I definitely recommend reading it around December, around January. It was snowing that week. It was just perfection. And the second book that I have, which is in my pile of books in that room, and I tried going through it, but ended up making a bigger mess. So the next book would be What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. And I admit, I don't get a lot of book crushes, but I have another book boyfriend and his name is Wit. I mean, I'm a sucker for redheads with green eyes. I mean, he's funny, he's very quirky, he's smart, street smart, you know, I couldn't help but fall for him, you know. And I did kind of have mixed feelings about the main character. What was her name? I can't remember her name right now. A lot of people were like, oh my gosh, why did you make these decisions? And which, spoiler alert, caused one of her cousins died. And it's just, people need to remember she's 18 or 19 years old. Like, and a lot of the decisions she made was because she was very trusting. Like, why wouldn't she trust her parents? Why wouldn't she trust her uncle? You know, and sure, was she naive? Who wasn't naive at 18 or 19 years old? I know I was. I believed everybody was. I was just genuinely a person who was happy for others and just wanted to be friends with everybody. And so, yeah, I mean, I love this book. If you love The Mummy, which, Brendan Fraser still has my heart. And if you love, I heard that it's a lot like The Nile Mystery by Agatha Christie, which I still need to get to, is a lot like it too. So it was just, it had fantasy, it had mystery, it kept me on my toes, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading the next book. And the last book that I want to mention is Dracul, and by Dr. Stoker. And that book just, I could not put it down, even though it's like 400 plus pages. Like, I just could not put it down, and like I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I ended up getting other books by Bram Stoker, because there was a point where he said that, Bram Stoker, when he tried to publish Dracula, he told the publisher that vampires are real, and he wanted to publish it as a way to warn people. And of course, around that time, Jack the Ripper was happening, and the publishers were like, yeah, we're not going to publish this as real, but rather fiction. And he ended up sending like different documentaries around the world. And this is true. This is true. He sent documentaries around the world, and there was one from Iceland that was sent to, and I got a copy of the Bram Stoker's Icelandic translation back to the English book. And yeah, I still have not read it yet. I definitely am looking forward to reading it and just making comparison notes and seeing how it's different from Dracula. But yeah, it makes you rethink things. It makes you think, like, are vampires real? I think Bram is still doing like vampire seminars, and it's just, I know it's just a book hype trying to get people to believe in that vampires are real, but I don't know. Maybe they are. Fun fact is that Bram Stoker, he was really sick when he was little, and he miraculously healed one day, and he ended up becoming a star athlete. He wasn't even expected to live past like infancy or something, and then towards the end of his life, he chose to be cremated, which around that time, it is very rare for and he was Catholic, of course, because he was Irish. It was very frowned upon to get cremated, or because of the Catholic Church teachings about like resurrection and blah, blah, blah. And so it was interesting, like towards the end of the Dracul book, Dracula promises Bram Stoker that he will come back around the time he dies. And I don't know if that was to try to turn him into a vampire, so that's why he chose to be cremated. So you don't know. Who knows? Why was he cremated? I know I'd rather be cremated than than be buried. And then just have my ashes scattered in the wind on a lake or on a mountaintop. That just sounds like the best way to go to me. Become one with nature again. I too like to whine. So, the next couple books are honorable mentions. I loved Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And yeah, it was a good fantasy, and I enjoyed a lot of it. I annotated a lot. I don't write in my books because it's a sin. I mean, if you like writing on books, like, all power to you. To me, it just makes me cringe. I could not do that to my own books. But if you like doing that, you enjoy that. Just think about, if you don't want to keep the book and you're gonna like donate it. I hate, I've gotten books that were annotated before from like the thrift store and not even opened it and looked at it, and it's very annoying. So yeah, make sure that you're gonna keep those books. That's just all I have to say about it. The next one would be Veins of Magic, which is a good Scottish fantasy tale. This is actually the second book to the series. The first one is the Heart of Fae or something like that. It is by Emma Hamm, And I absolutely love this book, even though it's got a little bit of spiciness in it. But honestly, I was rooting for them. I loved the two characters, which I'm not gonna name them right now because I will butcher their names. And the next book that I loved was When the Ghosts Call Us Home, by Katia de Becerra. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in one of my other videos. This is just a good horror book. The next one I would say I enjoyed a lot was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, because you can honestly never go wrong with anything T. Kingfisher writes, because her writing is just amazing. She writes really good fantasy and really good horror, and this is a fantasy book. But yeah, I really enjoyed the epic quest in this book. The next one I've recently read is The Lake House by Sarah Beth Durst, and it was honestly a good survival book, and it was definitely terrifying at some point. You really don't know who your friends are, or do you? You know, you really don't know who to trust here, and I actually loved, what I loved a lot about this book is there was a couple times where the three girls that were trying to survive this could have just turned on each other over a guy or over anything, and they empowered each other and they were there for each other, and I absolutely love that, because honestly, like, F drama. I mean, seriously, fuck drama. But yeah, I love, that's what I loved mostly about the book, is just, woohoo, girl power. And the last book that I really loved is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Ginevra Rose. And it was one of those books that I just could not put down, and I just, like, had to keep reading. So yeah, those were my most top favorite books so far that I've read this year. Comment below on what your top favorite books are this year, because honestly, I cannot answer the question when they say, what's your favorite book that you read so far this year? Is that a trick question? So, next question is, what are the most disappointed books? Like, what books were you most disappointed in? And I have top three, and that's one, Wake the Bones. I'll definitely post a picture of it. I read this for a book club, for a library book club, and I did not care for it at all. Characters were cringy, the plot, like, it had so much potential. And the sad thing is, like, I wanted to like the book, but the sad thing is, the author was gonna go and go to one of the book discussions, and she was gonna be there, and I could have had her sign it, but I hated the book. I'm not gonna lie, I hated the book. It just wasn't for me. So, I'd say that I definitely I just did not care for it, and I didn't want to ruin other people's times. How do you tell an author to your face, I hated your book. But no, it wasn't for me, and I just did not care for it. Anyways, another book that I've read is Snowdrift by Georgette Heyer, and yeah, I just felt like a lot of it's like an anthology of different, like, Regency romance short stories, and honestly, I just couldn't. There were only like 2 of them that I enjoyed, and that was because they were funny. I mean, I love a good, like, if you're gonna give me some Regency romance, please make it funny. Other than that, they were very repetitive and boring, so I don't really recommend that if you don't like repetitive romance stories. But mother, I want to marry him. I'm going to Granada. Anyway, the next book that I was disappointed in is My Roommate is a Vampire, which I believe just came out last year. I read it this year. It was really funny at first, and I liked that, but then it just got way too saucy for my taste. It was way too spicy, and the ending was kind of anticlimactic, and I just didn't really care much for it. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed in that. Alright, on to the next section. This question is books that made me cry, and there was 2, which honestly is quite surprising. The first book that made me cry is The Saturday Night Ghost Club. I think I talked about this before. It deals with a lot of grief, and especially a lot of it had to do with being a parent. And just the part that made me cry the most was when he said a neurosurgeon and he was supposed to do a brain surgery on a kid who had a tumor, and he was like 19 years old, and he lost the patient, and he went home and just cradled his son. He had like a 5-year-old son, and he said, the thing that scares me most about being a parent is not being able to, like, I want to be there for you. I want to take away your pain and just be there for you. And the thing that scares me most is not being able to, like, not being able to save you from things that I can't control, like a drunk driver, losing a child through a drunk driver, or through cancer or something like that. And that just, as a mom, like, if you're a parent, like, it just, that broke me. And it's hard, and it's a beautiful book, but I definitely could not read it again, because, it handled a lot of amazing issues, but yeah, it definitely made me cry. The next book that made me cry is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, and honestly, like, this probably would have been in my top favorite books too. Like, this book had to do with, like, best friends, and one of them, like, losing them at such a young age, and then just dealing with that grief his entire life, and being, like, blaming himself for his best friend's disappearance, and the end of it, like, facing that best friend and just having that best friend save him. And it was that ending made me cry. So, books that I am most excited to read. Please don't set this house on fire. Fire bad! So, I recently got The Honey Witch, but I'm sure a lot of people are talking about The Honey Witch, but I'm looking forward to reading this one. Can't spell treason without T. The Spell Shop, and The Floating Hotel by Grace Curtis. And I'll probably mention a little bit of this one because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this one. So this is about a hotel in outer space, and I heard it's like a lot of it is just atmospheric, and there's a mystery behind this, like, who is running the ship, because nobody knows who's running the ship. So this looks like a good time as well. But yeah, like, most of these three I just love cozy fantasy books. Like, right now what I'm currently reading is Fatal Fudge Swirl by Mary Allen, and it's just, clearly I'm in the fall mood, and I've been in the mood for a fun Halloween cozy mystery. I've also been reading the Penguin Book of Witches, which is this I've been working for the past couple months. I mean, it's a nonfiction book about the witch trials in Europe and Salem, and I mean, it's a very interesting read. It's just taking me a while to read it. And of course, I am reading The Return of the King. I still have got like 100 pages left, and I'll probably just talk about, like, parts, like, in the book that were different than the movie, and there were definitely a few things, and I will eventually definitely finish reading that. The last section I have is the most anticipated releases. So I am looking forward to reading So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, which, given by the title, I assume it's about vampires, and I love Rachel Harrison's book Cackle. It was one of my favorite books in like 2 years ago, and it was so good, and I basically buy everything that Rachel Harrison comes out with. And the second book I am anticipated in reading is What the Library Tides by Isabel Ibanez, and that is the second book to What the River Knows. So after that cliffhanger towards the end, I want to pick that up right away, because what is going on? If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't read the book, read it. So the last book I have is When the Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, and like I said, anything that she comes out with, I pick it up right away. And Book of the Month has it as an extra, so you can get it for $12 if you're a BFF, I think. But I mean, other than that, like, it's like $16 a month for that, like the Book of the Month book. Anyway, it's an add-on if you are interested in picking that up too. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will try my hardest to put up and record the Lord of the Rings video this weekend. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and please be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm on the pumpkin pages. And so yeah, my name is Elena, and stay spooky, friends. I'm done.
No.
No? Why are you like this? Yeah, I'm done. Say bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Say thanks for watching, friends.
Thank you for watching, friends.
Stay spooky.